which will give the best of both worlds.
Exactly. I mean, that's you said it instead of me.
Oh yes.
For me, it's like the Goldilocks
Exactly.
of bikes.
Hello and welcome back to Gear Ranch and Rome. My name is Kurt and I'm joined today by Ruben, who's the owner of Muturi Malta. It's a local motorcycle dealer shop here in Malta which specializes in all kinds of second-hand motorbikes. If you would like to give me a brief introduction.
So we specialize mostly in special bikes. I mean, as you can see, we're going to introduce the Fantic over here. We've got a very niche market of special bike, especially Italian, European, but even Japanese, that are a bit different. We're passionate about bikes.
Of course.
Obviously, we sell even new bikes, but we're specialized as well in second-hand, like the model that we're going to introduce today.
Exactly. Today, so we're going to begin this mini-series of bike reviews, beginning with the Fantic Caballero 700. As you can see, it's a Neo Scrambler type of motorbike. It has good lines, good forms. What can you tell us briefly about the motorbike?
So Fantic, this one, as far as I know, is the only one on the islands. It's basically, the Fantic Caballero have been since the 70s.
Okay.
But they were reintroduced in 2019 with the Fantic 500, 125 and even the 250 series,
okay,
which was a single cylinder variant. And in 2022, they launched the 700.
Okay.
This is a 2023 model. The 700 is different than the others because it uses the engine from the Yamaha Tenere. And the Yamaha MT-07, which is the 700 parallel twin.
So it's a very proven engine.
It's a very good engine. It's different from the others because the others were single cylinder. There's a twin cylinder.
So a bit more torque.
It's a bit more torquey. It's a bit more powerful. The difference between the Yamaha variant and this, engine-wise, they're exactly the same.
Okay.
The electronics are different. They introduced the traction control. They up the power by a couple of, it's about 73 instead of 70, so it's a little bit up on power. And as usual with Fantic, the attention to detail is second to none. I mean, if you look even close-ups, you have billet everywhere. Billet aluminium is used in the frame, it's used in the top yoke and the bottom yoke.
Okay.
And the finish and quality of the bike is second to none. It has also other features like the ABS can be switched off.
Okay.
It has riding modes, which is different obviously to the Yamaha variant. And it's more retro styled than the others.
Exactly. In terms of styling, do you like it? Do you not like it? What is this market tailoring for?
It's basically the main competition would be the Ducati Scrambler,
okay,
which is the new model of the Ducati Scrambler that we have actually here as well. They're similar in bikes, but they're completely different at the same time. This, as an engine, since it's a parallel twin, it's got its own character, which is different. The performance, reliability, maintenance of these bikes, like we said before, it's basically the top of their class, let's face it. But then the difference from the Yamaha is the suspension, it's Marzocchi, you have Pirelli tires stock from the factory. I mean, it's a bit more high-end than the Yamaha variants. Even the quality of the display, if you look at it, it's incredible.
It's a very tight cockpit. I like the layout of it's minimalistic, but then again, it has that modern touch. That new riders are looking out for. Very nice that once they take over a company and begin pumping out new new motorcycles, they keep their tradition logged in.
Yes, and another difference that Fantic have on top of other Italian branded companies which have been resurrected, let's say. These are all Italian.
All right.
It's not a Chinese company that bought an Italian company or they work in collaboration. It's basically an Italian true and true company.
It's very difficult to find such companies still present. You mentioned briefly about the suspensions. Can you tell me a bit more about it in terms of handling, how it handles around? It has that, on the off-road characteristics, so it should handle some bumpy roads.
It is made to go green laning, let's say. All right, it's a scrambler like the old style scramblers. That means that if you find rough terrain, you can just go. It has a switch on the handlebar that you press it, and it changes even the characteristic of the engine to be more smooth and to have a different setup to go off-road, let's say. Obviously, it's not a full-out off-road bike like you find on dedicated off-road machines, but then on the road, it's perfectly good to travel around even the twisties and so on. It handles fantastic. For such a bike, the suspension is pretty firm. It will handle corners better than most of the bikes in its class. Brakes are handled over by Brembo, so I mean it has very good brakes.
They're radial mounted as well.
They're radial mounted. It's a single disc, but it's radial mounted and it's quite big as well. In that regard, it's very similar to the Scrambler. The main difference between them is the characteristics of the engine.
In terms of styling, as you mentioned, since it's an Italian company, they are keeping all their charm, which Italian companies are known for, but obviously planting a very reliable platform such as the CP2, which will give the best of both worlds.
Exactly. I mean, that's you said it instead of me. I mean, it's the best thing about it is that it gets all the reliability of the Japanese CP2 engine, and then with the charm and the styling and the quality of the suspension and braking components of the Italian bike.
Exactly. So, we've talked about the suspension and brakes. What can you tell me about the seat height and the geometry of the bike in general?
So, if you compare it to other bikes, it's somewhere in between a Scrambler, a Ducati Scrambler, and a Tenere. It's not as low as a Ducati Scrambler, although it's slow enough that someone my height, I'm 5'7", I fit on it, and it's good for me. It's a perfect size. So it's not that high. It's for an average rider, an average high rider. It's perfect. But it's not as low as the Ducati Scrambler. In terms of geometry, it's a bit more sporty than other bikes which are made for off-road. That means suspension is a bit more firm, which makes it even better for the road, for handling. But it's still good enough, it's still soft enough that you can go green laning without any problems.
So it's on-road first, off-road second. They decided to give it a bit more on-road capabilities, but without hindering the off-road.
Actually, it's really fun to drive on the road. But once you go to roads which are a bit, let's say, not perfect, that's we
have plenty of here in Malta, so
yes, it's perfect actually for those roads. Because you enjoy it when there's grip, when there's not a lot of grip, you still enjoy the ride.
In terms of the whole package now, we're trying to get new riders on board with this bike, a bit more advanced riders with this bike. What is the market? Somebody who's in between trying to change bikes, for example?
It has enough power that you have fun for the road, that you don't go looking for more, let's say. But at the same time, it's not overwhelming like some bikes on the road that you can hardly use 20% of the power in reality, because at the end of the day, we're on the road. For me, it's like the Goldilocks of bikes.
Somewhere
it's
in the middle.
There in the middle, which makes it perfect for Malta.
As you mentioned, it's a 2023 model, so it has to be Euro 5. Obviously, it's a motorcycle. We need exhaust. What is the exhaust note of this guy?
The exhaust is designed by Fantic, obviously, for the bike. It's actually built by Aero for them. And actually, it produces, like I said, a bit more power than the Yamaha variant. The sound is quite nice for a parallel twin. It makes a really nice noise. It's not extreme.
All right.
It's just enough
that it gives you some feedback.
Yes,
of what
exactly.
you're doing. No, it sounds bearable. It sounds bassy. It's not muted at all. And I'm pretty sure that at higher RPMs it can sing as well. And one last thing, how much you're selling this wonderful motorcycle?
So this bike is available for sale at 8,900.
Okay.
The actual retail price new is over 14,000 for new one. So, and this one has only 3,000 kilometers. So
it's
in
brand
reality,
new.
it's a very, very good value for money bike.
Okay, that's about it, I think, for this part of the review. We'll catch you on when we settle up and we hit the road. For the time being, I thank Ruben for this wonderful explanation and see you later on.
Bye.
Let's go out on the Fantic Caballero 700. Okay, first impressions. I was gonna say that the seat looked uncomfortable, but the first time I've swung a leg over it, and it's feeling quite comfortable. The seating position, it's very upright. And it's very smooth, oh my god. It's so smooth. There's a massive engine braking as soon as you let off the throttle. But otherwise, it's a very nice place to be. The handlebars are quite wide, giving you that scrambler look. Overall, I'm already impressed with this bike, guys. There's more than meets the eye. It has a very nice styling, but overall, the first impressions are quite good. It looks like it's going to carve corners. And the tessellated tires don't seem to be jealous of their on-road counterparts. Give me a second until I get used to the grip and controls. The clutch rides a bit high, but that is something that you can arrange later on. So first impressions are quite good. The engine is making all sorts of ride noises, and the brakes give you that confidence that you need, but obviously we'll test them later on. Give it some beans. I'm liking this. I think we are on the street map. We'll test that out first and then we'll try and switch them over and over to see if there is any difference. It feels almost as a V2. It has that uneven firing order. Gives the exhaust quite a nice tune. Okay, let's begin by going over the engine. As with that is the CP2, which can be found on the Tenere 700. It gives around 74 horsepower and 96 Newton meters of torque. That is the beauty of these modern parallel twins. They give you usable torque and the low RPMs when you're going to use them on a day-to-day basis, even when commuting. Those bumps over there, I could feel them very much on my Hornet, but on this bike it just dampens them quite well. I weigh around 110 kilos, so the suspension seem to be doing a pretty good job. It's a very comfortable place to be. The gear shifts seem to be buttery smooth. It has a bit of high riding clutch, but as I said, can be arranged by arranging the the clutch cable, so very easy thing to take care of. But overall the engine, I'm liking the engine. It's giving torque when you want it. Later on we'll open it up to see what its high-end speed and responsiveness is. Till now we're not doing much, there's a lot of traffic, but the engine feels quite responsive, I like it. And obviously this is the CP2 platform we're talking about, so it has been tried and tested by Yamaha in these recent years. So from the engine and gearbox standpoint we're pretty much set, and the Italians give it that flair that we're all about. So I read an article the other day where the motorcycle journalist mentioned it as frizzante being the sparkling champagne. Until now I'm already getting the feeling that they were quite right. Let's go over the suspension department and geometry of the bike in general. As I already mentioned, the Marzocchi up front, 45mm upside down. They're already giving me the confidence to go, as you saw over there. They're quite stiff, not gonna lie. Maybe if you live somewhere where there are a lot of potholes, something to consider, but the mono at the back is doing a pretty good job in sustaining my body weight and the weight of the bike itself. It's twisting marvelously over there, even in slow speed corners. I can see that it's very planted to the floor, not opening up as much. As you saw, I kept it in second just to see the torque from exiting from an almost stopped position, but the CP2 managed to get me out of that situation. Let's try and get above this guy. Wow, it pulls. Did not expect that low-end grunt, but we managed to overtake that car quite easily. I'm very surprised by the back brake. It's doing a marvelous job, coupled with the front disc, Brembo branded, so nothing to worry in that department. Actually, my first impressions, I'm seeing that the back brake is biting a bit more than the front. This bike wants to go down. It's like tipping over. Again, keep in mind that these are not on-road tires, but with some tessellation. Wow. Alright. The brakes do their work, so the single disc up front is giving me some confidence to get right to the edge of the apex and then brake. But as I said, a single disc is always a single disc, so keep that in mind. As Ruben mentioned yesterday, this is almost a brand new bike. It has only 3,280 kilometers on its clock. Not even running properly, I would say, but it feels premium. You can see that Fantic didn't cut corners from the looks department for sure, but even in the saddle, having obviously to manage controls and, you know, be able to navigate the bike, it feels premium. There are some vibrations on the handlebar, especially as the RPMs rise, but nothing unbearable. And if you ask me, some vibrations increase the character of the bike, so it feels that you're actually doing something instead of like almost playing a video game, as what we're seeing. The emerging trend of motorcycles is nowadays big round mirrors, giving you amplitude of rear visibility. I don't know if they're concave or not, I need to check. But going over this track, I can safely say that the suspensions are very adequate, even though they're not adjustable by any stretch. They give a lot of dampening and they're letting you know that you can trust the bike in a corner, it won't bounce. If there's a pothole that you didn't manage to avoid. I think it picks up a bit lazily, the RPMs. Then again, I'm not opening the throttle that much, so until I get used to the bike, I'm sorry Ruben, I have to go around some puddles over here. It's like we're in the desert with that dust cloud that truck gave in its wake. But as you can see, even with some dust on the floor, the bike is holding up nicely. As I already mentioned a few corners ago, the handlebars are quite wide, giving it that scrambler look. I don't believe you might want to change them, but what do you think? You would go for wider handlebars or something which has a bit more curve to them? I think this one suits the bike nicely. It wants you to lean it. In terms of electronics, we're still in the street map. It also has a gear indicator, which is always handy, and it is very legible. Today it's very sunny, but with the white font, black background, it's doing an adequate job. I love new digital tachometers and the way they evolved, but if it's done poorly, it's going to stay on for the lifetime of the bike and they might feel the age. But this one, it feels that it's going to hold on the test of time quite well. Not like those ancient LCDs. Yep, the brakes are holding up nicely. Give it some twists. And the high RPM, then you feel the torque, and it's a very nice experience. You want to get out of a sticky situation? There we go. Alright, very punchy, I like it. At the high RPMs, there obviously is a cutoff point. This is not an inline 4, so it doesn't scream, but at least down low, as I said, getting you out of a sticky situation. Let me see if I can. We're in street mode, and this is off-road. This is custom. I stay in street because I don't think we'll get the ability to test it off-road. Let's give it some revs. The clutch is very springy, as you said. I just shifted up and the bike bolted. It's a very nice place to be. The seat has not been hampering me in the slightest. And for a Euro 5, I think they did a pretty good job with the exhaust as well. It's giving all the right burbles, it's not muted at all. The rider aids, as mentioned, this is a 2023 bike. But the electronics don't feel intrusive, it just has the bare necessity. It's not intruding, it's not a video game, it just has very basic rider modes. It's not letting you not play. And it's very stable, guys, it's very stable in a straight line. As I said, the vibrations for me, they're added character to the bike, which sometimes feel very muted, very dull. It gives me some time to check out the bike. It's quite firm, as mentioned. I can plant both feet down, but I'm reaching with my toes. The dashboard is a very nice place to be. The controls feel solid. As I said, it's not overgrown with technology. It just gives you the bare necessity to make it current in this day and age. Let's hear the variables. There is a slight delay on the RPM gauge, but obviously since it's all digital, some delay is there, but I don't know if you can hear. The exhaust makes a lovely sound. Lovely sound indeed. Okay, we'll begin slowly and then accelerate all the way through. Okay, so in 3, 2, 1. Okay, that's what we're talking about. It picked up nicely, the torque curve, it was pretty linear, didn't give me any bolts or shakes. And it did get the job done, didn't it? Well done, Fantic. Let's see if we manage to try and corner. It corners quite well. Trail brake. It wants to lean, and I appreciate that. It doesn't lean so much that it's telling you, hey, you're overdoing it, and in that case you're pretty much protected by the cornering ABS, which this guy has, but it's letting you know that you can have some fun in it as well. And it's very linear, the fuel map is done brilliantly, even though Fantic designed their own airbox and obviously tuned to their needs. But I think it marries the CP2 quite well, and as we mentioned in the review, Japanese reliability with Italian styling. It's a recipe for success, I believe. For a parallel twin, it wants to rev as well. Okay. Madonna. That guy was going to run me over. Well done. And this tract of road is very... it's very dangerous, I never realized that. But as you saw, I stomped on my back brake and the ABS turned on, giving me control of the slide. One thing I'm noticing is that the clutch lever needs to be a bit more tugged in. I'm already hurting a bit my wrist and pulling it all the way through, but again, small adjustments. What about comfort? I think the windscreen is clutch. It's giving me just the right amount of wind protection. Let's see the water temperature of the bike. There it is. It's smack in the middle and I'm not feeling any kind of heat radiating from the side-mounted exhaust. The seat is quite hard, but as I mentioned in the first impression segment, it's still giving me enough support. Although when we did the high speed test, I slid back just a bit. The foot pegs are quite high. but they are in no means exaggeratedly high. I'm 175 centimeters tall, and my knees have a gentle curve to them, so I'm very comfortable where I am. And to tell you the truth, guys, I cannot have enough of this engine note. There's a bit of induction noise as well. This is as bare bones as it gets. Let's go up the hill. It's very, very planted. It's like driving on rails. If you had told me now that I had off-road tires, I wouldn't believe you. It feels very planted. Now, do you see over there? I stayed in fourth when I should have gone down a gear. It's a bit lazy to pick up the speed, but once it's there and operating within its optimal RPM range, it stays there and it gives you what you need it to give you. In comparison, till now I can only compare it to my Hornet. The handlebars are quite far out. The rider is set up more upright. You wanted some off-road. There you have it. Let's go over these bumps. So how they take it, alright. Again, the suspensions feel a bit firmer than I would have liked, but for keeping the bike going, I think they're doing a pretty good job. Very tight exit over here, some dust on the road. I think I like this bike, guys. It's doing all the right things. That engine is a peach. And it's not obnoxiously fast that for any inexperienced rider it might put him off in buying this bike. I've been riding, I think, now for 5 years. I'm still a novice, I think, but it might even play out in the hands of the right guy who wants the Scrambler type motorcycle. Fantic, as we heard yesterday, it's an Italian company still, not given out to Chinese or equivalent markets. It's still produced in Italy, and they're giving you the best bang for your buck. As an AO Scrambler motorcycle, I'm liking it a lot. I've always been a fan of this shape of motorcycle. As a 19-inch wheel, it's not giving me any problems whatsoever. It wants to bank. And with a flick of a twist, it's already leaned over for you to carve up the corner as you wish. I'm very pleased. Hello, Hersey. The feeling is that the back wants to give way, but it never does. And I wasn't even on the limit over there, but some weight transfer, it gives you that feeling, but it's not there. I really can't explain it as much as that, but trust me, you're never going to feel that it's not up for the task. Let's sit over here for some conclusions. Side stand is also quite well done. It looks nice, doesn't it? Oh no. He's going to clean it up, I think. So what can I say about this Fantic Caballero 700? It won me over in terms of style. It looks very scramblery, that's what they were after. Coupled with more than adequate brakes, so you've got single disc up front and single disc at the back, twin calipers up front, one caliper in the rear. It sits upright. This exhaust, I'm very pleased with this exhaust. I didn't think it was going to give out that rumble, but it does, so kudos to Fantic, who mapped it quite well to give it that low end burble. TCP2, what can I say? It's a reliable platform, tried and tested. It's the perfect companion for the style of bike, I believe, in the mid to high-end market. Obviously it's chain driven. The seat is a nice place to be, but I believe with opinion it might be a bit too crowded. LEDs all around. If you didn't get a glimpse of the controls, here we go. As I said, the clutch lever feels a bit too far out, so I might, if it was my bike, I might bring it back just a bit. Very adequate. Actually it's Brembo branded, the axial caliper, so well done. The windscreen does a pretty good job at keeping winds to a minimum. Some handlebars for the passenger to hold on to, and those tires, they're very nice tires. They're Pirelli, I believe, as well, so look the part as well. Doesn't have quick shifter, but it comes optional on these models. That red, it's very vibrant red, but it's not so much in your face as you might think. The Marzocchi do a pretty good job, and obviously with that Neo twist, we've got LEDs all around with the old style racing numbers over there. Very nice touch. What can I say? I enjoyed this review. We're gonna head back to Ruben, thank him for his time. But this is the Caballero Fantic 700. I hope you enjoyed it. See you for the next review, and thank you guys. Bye bye.